Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are Ohio.
We welcome you indoors to Miller Park in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Reds are hoping a new opponent, a new venue, and a new change of direction. They look to end a 4-game losing streak here tonight against a slumping 2-10 Milwaukee Brewers. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. And boy, you think the Reds have some problems right now? The Reds are 5-7. The Brewers are off to the worst start in their franchise's history.
Yeah, you really got to ask yourself which of these two teams needs the wins more, and the winner of that question would be the Milwaukee Brewers. Worst start in franchise history. Worst start in the major leagues this year. For everything that went well for the Brewers during spring training, it all suddenly stopped when the real season began. Not only that, but their center fielder, all-star Carlos Gomez, is on the disabled list with a right hamstring. He's going to be out for at least maybe 2 or 3 weeks. So they're trying to play catch-up and catch-up in a hurry.
The one guy who has been so impressive, and there have been others, but the youngster pitching tonight, Anthony DeSclafani, makes his 3rd start as a Red. The first 2 have been lights out.
Well, you know, he's got such good stage presence on the mound. He looks like he knows he belongs there. He's doing the little things that it takes to win games that he did against Pittsburgh. 6 strikeouts, 2 innings overall. He was able to place that slider down and away, use that power-sinking fastball of his down and in, and he's a guy that as long as he keeps the ball down like he does, he's going to win a lot of games. He uses the defense behind him. He had a good game, a really good game against the Cubs his last time out, and he expects to build on that tonight here against the Brewers.
Well, for more on Anthony DeSclafani, let's check in downstairs with Jim Day.
Well, Brian Price has raved all spring long about Anthony DeSclafani's stuff, and he said don't be surprised at how this guy commands the strike zone, and we've certainly seen that. Price has particularly been impressed with the way he's commanded his changeup. 2 starts in the books. So far, so good. We talked to Price about what he's seen so far.
He's throwing 3 pitches for strikes, doing all the little things, controlling the running game and being aggressive in the zone. He's got a really nice changeup that's developed here through spring training and into the early part of the season. I think a necessary pitch for Anthony to be a really true quality starting pitcher.
And we've shown shots of Anthony DeSclafani while he's pitching. No one is more locked into the game than this guy. He is very serious, but I will try my best coming up in a sit-down interview with Anthony DeSclafani to get some answers out of a very quiet guy, but very effective on the mound.
In just a minute, let's shift gears now to the guy pitching for Milwaukee tonight, and he has been mighty tough in his career, young career, against the Reds and Willie Peralta.
Yeah, he's only 25 years old. He won 17 games last year for the Milwaukee Brewers. I mean, he's got a strong arm, too. He averages more than 96 miles an hour on a fastball, has a good slider. He really doesn't use a lot of off-speed pitches other than those 2, but he's done really well against the Reds. Look at the numbers last year in 2 starts, 12 strikeouts. He dominated during those games last year, and he had parts of seasons last year. And Willie Peralta's throwing the ball where he wants to. He can do pretty much what he wants to do. When he starts hanging that slider in the zone, left-handers can take advantage of that, and that's what Jay Bruce hopes to do tonight.
We'll see how it goes. Reds trying to get on track. When we come back, Jim Day will sit down with tonight's starting pitcher, Anthony DeSclafani. Don't want to miss that. You're watching Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
Authority of the Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
It's the Reds and Brewers on your home for Reds baseball, Fox Sports Ohio. I'm Jim Day. My pleasure to welcome in Anthony DeSclafani. Appreciate you joining us. How we doing?
Doing well. Doing really well.
Let's talk about, let's get to know you a little bit. Born in New Jersey, and the high school is Colts Neck High School. What was growing up in New Jersey like?
It was awesome. I grown to love the area. Kind of experiencing, the minor leagues and getting to travel around the country. I think you really, it made me appreciate, where I'm from. I love New Jersey, everything it's about. It's close to New York, it's close to Philly, and I grew up 10 minutes from the beach. So, I kind of feel like I had the best out of everything.
Well, we've talked to teammates, and they said you're a quiet guy. Now, you're number 28, so you lock her next to Pena a lot because he's number 29. But Pena claims they put you guys beside each other to loosen you up a little bit. Has he loosened you up at all?
Yeah, I like being around him. He's a great team guy, and, I feel really comfortable around him. I feel comfortable around anybody, I know people say I'm kind of uptight, but last year I had a lot of ups and downs, and, I wasn't happy about that, and I want to concentrate on, doing well up here and sticking here. So, I kind of might seem a little straight edge right now, but, I'm trying to focus on, establishing myself as a major league pitcher and, trying to help this ball club win. I think as the season goes on, it's, I'll loosen up a little bit. I'm kind of just doing it. I want to make sure I establish myself right now and, take it one game at a time. But I feel comfortable with this team. It's a great team. I think we're going to do a lot of good things this year.
That's a pretty good approach to have, by the way. And we've had some shots of you in the dugout where you can just tell, man, you are just locked in. I know we've talked about the trade and how excited you were to come over here and to be solidly in the rotation. Is it what you expected so far?
Yeah, I've had a great time out here. Being able to compete on the mound every 5 days is, it's a privilege to have, and, it's something that I wanted in the off season. Once the trade happened, I know it wasn't going to be handed to me. I still had to go out there and prove myself, and, I'm glad that I'm able to do that so far.
Last time out, 7 innings of scoreless baseball. What was working for you, and how proud of you of that effort? I had everything working. Pena did a great job behind the plate calling the pitches and had outstanding defense. That always helps. With Bird making a great play and Brandon Phillips making a diving catch, and everyone was solid around, and that just helps out being able to trust your defense and having Pena behind the plate. Thing that coaches have said, and teammates, and even analysts, they've said, a lot of young guys, it's hard to get over that mental hump of being able to attack hitters, trusting your stuff. You attack hitters. Have you always been that way?
Well, that's something that I kind of learned in college. My head coach, kind of preached that, to the whole pitching staff, and, that's kind of something that I've taken with me from there, and it kind of helps me, alleviate the nerves a little bit. Kind of get, when you kind of get nervous or anxious, I just tell myself, just attack the hitter, just let that thing go, and, try and attack the mitt as hard as you can, and, you can't be afraid of what's going to happen after you throw the pitch. So, I just try and go out there and just, attack the hitter, and, what happens after that is out of my control.
Over the years, I've found a lot of pitching coaches, and a lot of people in general talk about how hard it is to develop a good changeup and to have control over that changeup. Brian Price has raved about the control you have not only with all your pitches, but your changeup. Have you always had that in you?
No, I haven't always had that. It's obviously always been a learning process with it. I feel like it's just starting to come around, over the past couple months, past year. I've always flashed some good signs of it, but I think it's going to start getting better as more and more as I use it. And Mesoraco and Pena have done a good job of, calling in, good situations. And, I felt comfortable with it. Once you start having success with the pitch, it also becomes easier to throw, just kind of, trusting it.
Anthony, thank you very much. Coming up, Billy Hamilton's back in the lineup and back in a place where he likes to be a ballin'. Billy ballin' versus the Brewers. More to come on Fox Sports Ohio.
Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By Chevy. Check out our award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time. Back in Miller Park for game 1 of 4. Jeff Pecora, Brian Giesenslaw getting you set. Brian, you talk about one team's mastery over another. It's the Reds over the Brewers.
Well, they've had good success against this Milwaukee team the last several seasons. I'd like to see that continue here tonight with the first of 4. Our Elk and Elk storylines for the night shows you that the Reds against the Brewers have 8 consecutive seasons without losing the season series. So first of many against Milwaukee here tonight with Anthony DeSclafani and Willie Peralta. But history indicates the Reds have played well in this ballpark and well against this team. And, man, do they need to play well here tonight.
Well, they do. And one of the keys to that is the top of the lineup. Yeah. We talked about Joey Votto ad nauseum, but Billy Hamilton is another key. So let's time now for our IGS Bringing the Energy. And last season at Miller Park in 9 games, that man right there, Billy Hamilton, the leadoff hitter, hit .324. He had 6 home runs all of last season. 3 of them came in this ballpark. He also had 8 RBI. As he goes so far this season, so does the Reds offense. So we need Billy Hamilton to get back on that proverbial horse. Bringing energy by IGN.
Yeah, those numbers. And Jim Day pointed out the fact that, yes, he had the sore groin in the game in St. Louis, but that he does feel much better and says he's locked and loaded and ready to go. But there is no way to explain why Billy Hamilton had 6 home runs all of last season, and half of them were in this ballpark.
All right, my question to you, and there was so much in spring training talked about, where is Joey Votto going to hit? Right. Do you think he likes the 2-hole?
I think it suits him well at this point. I think the Reds and Brian Price would say it suits this team well because Votto, at 31 years old, with so much angst about his health a season ago, his offensive approach, has had one of the best starts in baseball offensively. He's reached base in all 12 games. 364 reflects the fact that he has hits in 9 of the 12 games, 7 multi-hit games, so that has him near the top of the National League. And many, many offensive categories, and Joey Votto has not slowed down yet. And for this team to break out offensively, I think Joey Votto is going to have to lead the way.
He's also got a 481 on base. That means he's getting on base half of his at-bats. He's getting on base, including all 12 games this year. He has been on base.
Yes, he has. Stick around. When we come back, we're getting closer and closer to first pitch for the Reds and Brewers. Billy Hamilton leads things off. Jay Bruce getting loose. Lineups coming up next.
.620 locally. They're experimenting with that start time here in Milwaukee on games during the week. That will be the only time we start at 6:20 Central, 7:20 Eastern in this series. There you get a look at the Reds starting lineup. And Billy Hamilton back in it, presented by Meyer. Votto in the 2-0, Frazier, Matsui. Jay Bruce in right field. Marlon Byrd back in the lineup in left. He had the night off last night. Pena still in there for Devin Mesoraco. A latter third of Zach Cozart, Christopher Negron for Brandon Phillips. Nothing wrong with Brandon, just giving an off day today. And Anthony DeSclafani on the mound. Willie Peralta is 25 years young. You mentioned, Chris, a 17-game winner. Their best a year ago.
And he's got the stuff time to be an ace of the staff. There's no question about it. You see the numbers on him already this year. He feels a lot like Johnny Cueto out there. His team has not scored him any runs really to speak of at all. He's walked one batter in 12 innings. And even though he only has 3 strikeouts, here's a guy that throws 96 miles an hour on average. So he does like to pitch against the Reds. He pitched very well 2 times against them last year. And we'll see what Peralta has on store for the Reds tonight. Mostly fastball, both 4-seamer and 2-seamer. He throws a slider and occasional changeup, but mostly that fastball slider combination is what he goes to.
Let's take a look at the Brewers behind Peralta tonight, presented by Ford. Chris Davis, Gerardo Parra, Ryan Braun, left, center, and right. Aramis Ramirez playing his final season in the major leagues. Segura at short. Gomez has started second. Lynn came over from Toronto during the offseason at first. And Jonathan Lucroy, their best offensive player a year ago, hanging a sign for Peralta. Billy Hamilton looks at ball 1 and this one underway. Hamilton had the infield single, you may recall, in the 8th inning on Saturday. Left the game with a sore right groin. Did not play though he was available to play last night. And boy, when you're playing the way the Reds are playing right now, what a difference it would be to jump on Peralta and what it would mean to your team to do it here in the opening inning. 2-1.
It's something the Reds haven't been able to do much at all this year, is to score early and then just kind of put the other team on the defensive. Certainly gives your manager and your pitcher a little bit of breathing room.
Found out a play, 2-2 to Billy Hamilton.
That's what they would like Peralta to do a little bit more of. I mean, after all, when you're throwing in the mid to high 90s, if you keep throwing it down around the knees, it becomes hittable. But if you throw it up around the letters, like Tony Cingrani has learned to do, that's where you get a lot of strikeouts. They don't think he elevates it quite enough.
The Reds are not only trying to end this 4-game losing streak, they are trying to get a pattern, and it has been a lengthy one, of starting to win games on the road. The Reds are 9-34 on the road since the end of June last year. Hit right on the nose, but right at Braun. One away. That is a staggering note when you consider how good the Reds have been really 4 of the 5 prior years until all the injuries wrecked their season a year ago.
A lot of times, Tom, you know, the teams that don't do well on the road are teams that struggle in the bullpen. And the Reds did that last year, and there's no doubt about it. That had a lot to do with it.
Joey, first pitch swinging. A roller right at Gomez, and 2 are gone here in the Reds' opening inning.
You know, as bad as the Reds have been, though, you consider what the Brewers are going through right now. Not only are they 2-10 and off to the worst start in franchise history, but you go back to September 1st of last year when they essentially had a meltdown and lost the division. I mean, they had a chance to just put everybody away last year. They are 8-28 since last September the 1st. That is a winning percentage of 200. They didn't do a lot over the winter to change their ball club.
Broken bat flare to fall in a base hit. That's a Gold Glove winner out there in center field. And Parra, who's filling in for the injured Carlos Gomez, and able to smother that one. Frazier, a 2-out single.
Pretty nice to have a backup center fielder be a Gold Glove winner. Parra is an all-good round player. You know, I talked to Todd about his swing before the game today. He says, you know, I feel good up there. My swing is level. I feel like I'm seeing the ball well. I hit the ball hard a few times in St. Louis. Didn't have a lot to show for it. But it's nice to have one a little bit off the end of the bat right there fall in for you.
Here's another guy hoping to get things going. That's Bruce. 8 hits and 42 at-bats. 2 of those hits home runs. He's driven in 5. Frazier takes off. Throw down to second. No chance. And Frazier will slide, pop up, and make his way to third. A stolen base and a throwing error. Frazier's first steal, you may remember he stole 20 a year ago.
Willie Peralta never even looked over there. Watch Todd Frazier. That's his classic, I'm not really going to take a lead. I'm just going to start to run to second base. And by the time that Jonathan Lucroy even got that ball in his glove, he really should have just stuck it in his pocket, because had Frazier done anything except fall down, he was going to be at second base safe. You're looking at one of the best right there in Lucroy.
Here's an area where the Reds struggled last year, and they've been slumping to begin this year. And that's getting the hit with a runner in scoring position. During this 4-game losing streak, overall the Reds are hitting .203. But with runners in scoring position, they have 2 hits in 21 at-bats. See if Jay can start that turnaround right now. 1-2.
Well, he chased 2 changeups right there. And I think that's probably something new for Jay Bruce to see from Willie Peralta. Peralta, through the most of his career, has been fastball slider. But he starts adding that third pitch that goes away from left-handers off speed. That really fills it out.
Well, we mentioned Peralta. He's a youngin'. He won't turn 26 until next month. The Brewers' most valuable pitcher a year ago. 17 wins, 11 losses, an ERA right at 3.5. First strikes out swing, and the Reds are gone with a runner at third in the opening inning. Anthony DeSclafani will look for a scoreless first when we return. You'd be arrested.
I'm going to try that in my hotel room, though. What do you think?
Well, allegedly our hotel is haunted, so they may go off anyway.
Okay. Well, maybe I won't then. I'll just blame it on the ghost.
Ron Renicky has to wonder, are there ghosts all over those affiliated with the Brewers right now? 2-10 is lineup presented by Alexis. Segura, LaCroix, Braun. Lind at first, Davison left, Ramirez at third, Parra in center, Hector Gomez has started second, Peralta on the mound. Anthony DeSclafani, his third start as a Red, and his first two have been mighty good. Segura doing his Carlos Gomez imitation, hacking it at first pitch.
Oh, you're right about that, and he can take a big hack. There's the numbers on Anthony.
6 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, and a no decision. His first start as a Red in a game the Reds won 3-2 over the Pirates.
You know, he just has he pitches like he's got no fear. Not that he's cocky, but I mean, he just comes right after you and says, here it is. If you want to hit it, I'm going to throw a strike with it, and we'll see what you can do.
Let's take a look at the Reds on defense. Behind DeSclafani, presented by Ford. Hamilton back in there, flanked by Bird, also back in there, and Bruce. Cozart and Negron up the middle. Frazier and Votto on the corners, Pena hanging aside. By the way, Devin Mesoranco is not here with the team. Brian Price said before the game he is attending family business. So you may remember he wasn't with the team in Chicago, having some discomfort apparently in his hip. He flew in, joined the team in St. Louis, where he did not play over the weekend, and then went back to Cincinnati. And Brian said he hopes to have him in this series against Milwaukee. So the Reds, in essence, have played this entire road trip with 24 rather than 25 players.
Which really doesn't become a problem until you get into a tight game down at the end of the game and you start doing some moves. Pinch hitting moves, maybe double switches and so on. That's where sometimes it can catch you tight.
LaCroix, a bouncing ball to Votto, who feeds DeSclafani, quickly 2 out.
Now, in the meantime, they do have another catcher. I mean, Tucker Barnhart is up here activated, so if Brian Pena has a problem or they want to pinch hit or make a maneuver, we do have another catcher on the roster ready to go.
And we have no idea, nor is it any of our business to know what's going on with Devin, but we certainly hope everything is okay. Ryan Braun without a home run. The Brewers as a team have 3 home runs. There are more than a dozen players individually around Major League Baseball that have at least 3 home runs.
Well, You know, he was telling me before the game that as good as they played in spring training, he said offensively everybody was hitting on all cylinders in spring training. Nobody could get them out because all of a sudden it just went away, and we have no idea what happened.
Throw off line, and the tag missed. That'll be a throwing error on Frazier. Braun hustling up the line.
He always hustles, Braun does. And he's a little faster than you give him credit. Looks like Todd threw that ball a little sidearm. See how his hand got on the side of that ball and it tails off away from the bag? So that's a pretty close call there. And Barrett had to look like he must have had a good angle.
Well, Joey is squatted down. Now he pops back to his feet. It appeared as though he's looking in the Reds' dugout. Should have been a 1-2-3 inning. Instead, a fourth Brewer will come to the plate. It's Adam Lynn.
He had a pretty good hitter, too, in here at Lynn. They got him from Toronto. 31 years old, had 35 home runs a few years ago.
Not only are the Brewers, and their own manager has said, we're not an on-base percentage team. We are a slugging team. We need to hit home runs, get extra base hits, and out-slug people offensively to win games. They have scored a total of 30 runs. They are dead last in slugging percentage and on-base percentage.
Well, that may have sounded good in the old days, but I think the days of slugging teams to death are gone.
Long gone.
I mean, if you just look at the trend of batting averages over the last few years and the trend of strikeouts by pitchers going up, batting averages are going down, strikeouts are going up, velocity of pitchers are going way up, especially out of the bullpen. There's something to be said for getting runners on base and scratching out runs.
So those categories, either last or next to last among all National League teams in many offensive categories, are these Brewers. 1 and 2 on Lynn.
Lynn was a silver slugger as a DH in Toronto in 2009. Drove in 114 that year. That was the year he had 35 bombs. They got him in a deal for Marco Estrada. 31 years old from Muncie, Indiana.
And the Reds have a big shift on him. Oh, very close. Pretty good move, along with good pitching by Anthony DeSclafani.
That's a big lead down there that Braun has had.
DeSclafani will get there, and the glove feed to Votto. What an impressive start for this young Reds right-handed. End of one. We are scoreless at Miller Park. 1 month. It's April in the OHIO on Fox Sports Ohio. You want a great sports experience? Lunch with Brian Pena, an autographed jersey, $500 cash card. Text April in Ohio to 733-733. Message and data rates may apply. Here we go. Reds second inning, no score. Opening game of 4 between the Reds and the Milwaukee Brewers. Talked about Peralta, how well he has pitched in his career against the Reds. Gave you the numbers from last year. 2-0, 2 starts, 15 innings, 1 earned run. 8 starts in his career, and an ERA at 2.8. You know, the Brewers look at this guy, and when you consider his age, you can understand why. They look at this guy as their version of a budding Johnny Cueto.
Well, you're exactly right. And the interesting thing about last year for Peralta, 17-game winner, but it was really a tale of 3 seasons. His first 10 starts, he was lights out. Earned run average around 2. Then he went into a midseason slump where he couldn't get anybody out.
Check swing. They say Marlon Bird went around. He's done on strikes.
Got to be frustrating for Marlon because he has had pretty good history against Peralta in the past. Did he go? First base umpire Ted Barrett is watching for that bat head, and Marlon was certain he did not go, but he gets rung up. And then at the very end of the season for Peralta, the last 14 starts, he got back on track again. While everybody else on the Brewers seemed to spit the bit when they needed the wins the most down the line, Peralta was a guy that was there, very consistent down the stretch. Big, strong kid from Santa Barbara, Samana, Dominican Republic. Little city in the northeast part of the island, not too far from Punta Cana. You may not know this about Santa
I'm going to
Barbara.
nickname you Rand McNally Welsh.
I got to tell you, you may not know this, but the North Atlantic humpback whale come into the Bay of Samana for 3 months, January, February, and March, while you're down there getting ready for the season in Arizona. A lot of tourists are there in Willie Peralta's hometown to watch the whales.
Well, that would be some kind of sight. 3-1 to Pena. And that's ball 4. The appeal, he did not go around. Maybe you and I ought to head down there.
I'd like to get down there. He goes to the changeup on the last pitch. Maybe that's a sinking fastball and just misses downstairs.
You know, it brings to mind the last time you were down there was to have an extended visit with Johnny Cueto.
Yeah, you're right.
And it was his mother's birthday while you were there. And I know that a lot of that tape is finally coming together. Fly ball, short center field. Parra's got it. 2 away in the inning.
That editor of mine is
very slow.
Just not quite as motivated as I am.
As a matter of fact, some might argue that editor has taken an extended leave of absence, basically since you returned from a Dominican.
If you hear from him, let me know.
I will. Christopher Negron, 1 hit and 9 at bats. Nothing wrong with Brandon Phillips. Brandon, in fact, wanted to be in that lineup tonight. But you got to give guys a day off at some point in time, sooner or later. And today was the day that Brian and his staff said, Brandon, you can sit this one out. He'll undoubtedly be in there the next 3 and probably the next 15, if not more. No score, second inning. Two 2-0 on Negron. Brandon came up with the Reds' only run batted in that tight one last night. 2 hours barely over 2 hours in a 2-1 decision. Cardinals coming out on top. A brilliant performance by Red starter. Unfortunately, the loser in that game, Mike Leake. Boy, did he pitch beautifully. Gave up the leadoff home run his first inning and the tie-breaking run his final inning. 3-1 2-Negron.
One thing I find interesting here early in the ball game is how willing Willie Peralta is to throw off-speed pitches behind in the count. I mean, here he's facing the number 8 hitter in the lineup, and he's got a 3-1 count, and he's throwing a slider. I know it's called by Jonathan Lucroy, but that tells me two things. Number one, you don't want to challenge him with a fastball. Number two, he's got a lot of confidence in his off-speed stuff. There it is again.
Well, that's what I mean when I bring up, they look at him as their Cueto. When we saw Johnny first come to the major leagues, he'd go through stretches like you referred to Peralta's season last year. Never won 17, but he'd have 2 months really good, couple of shaky months, and then a month really good as part of a lot of young pitchers' sort of resume building will look like. 3-2 pitch. Now I think we all agree that Cueto's changeup was very impressive right away when he came to the big leagues. But Peralta perhaps a little bit better breaking ball as a young pitcher in the major leagues. Is that fair to say or no?
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Johnny had 2 different kind of breaking balls. He really didn't settle on a slider until just a few years ago. He tried to throw a curveball too. It's all a learning process.
Ball 4, Negron, and the Reds on back-to-back walks. Were 2 walks in the inning, I beg your pardon. We'll give DeSclafani a chance to give him a lead.
Kind of interesting, really, because in the 2 previous games that Peralta pitched, he only walked 1 batter total. And he's walked 2 in this inning, including the number 8 hitter. I mean, he's the guy, the 8 hitter that, I mean, you're thinking to yourself, unless he's going to have got some home run power, you're thinking, I'm going after this guy because I want the pitcher leading off next inning.
DeSclafani 0 for 4 this year, has 1 hit in his major league career, now make it 2. Into center field, they go wave around Pena. Here comes a throw by Parra. The slide, and the runner is safe. Anthony DeSclafani, his 2nd career hit, his 3rd career RBI, taking matters into his own hands, and a 1-0 lead.
Peralta falls off towards first base, so this ball goes right back over the rubber, and Parra's got an arm, and he shows it off here, but the ball just sails high, and because the ball went up and the catcher Lucroy had to go up to get it, that gave Pena a chance to get his leg in there, and the Reds get a run here in the 2nd inning.
Well, Ron Renicky apparently has heard from his video people, and it looks like he's going to request a replay challenge. He has made only 1 this entire year, getting a Matt Holliday double overturned to a Ryan Braun catch back on a game in St. Louis on April the 15th.
Do you think that that's just another way to begin to evaluate managers? Because they just had last year to begin to tabulate some of the data. How many reviews has a manager called for? How many of those reviews ended up going his way versus, staying where it was? It'd be interesting to see, I guess, if people begin to evaluate managers like that. I know the fans have just seen a replay on the big board, and they like what they see.
Well, the home plate umpire's right on top of the call. That doesn't mean he got it right. But again, there are 3 different verdicts here. Confirmed, stands.
He's out.
He's out. Apparently the front foot of Pena, the extended straight leg, never touched home plate.
It went over the plate, but it didn't touch the plate. He couldn't get that leg down. We'll go to the second. Brewers coming up.
Day. Scooter Gennett, born in Cincinnati, raised in Sarasota. You want to talk about tough luck? Check out this picture that he sent out on social media. The reason Scooter Gennett is not in the lineup, he actually has stitches in his hand as he was reaching for the soap dispenser after the game in Pittsburgh yesterday. It's his left hand, the knuckle middle finger area that you saw right there. He was just simply trying to grab body wash after the game. That is about as bad luck as you can have. No timetable as to when you might see Scooter Gennett on the baseball field.
All right, Jimbo, thank you very much.
That's it. I'm done with showers. Hope you don't mind.
I thought you were already. We begin the bottom half of the second inning. Scoreless game after the call overturned at the plate. So take away the second career hit. Actually, the hit still stands, but take away the third career RBI for the Reds pitcher. Chris Davis, one of the few Brewers swinging the bat pretty well to begin this year. 13 hits, 42 at-bats. Although no home runs. In the air right at Billy Hamilton. Chris, again, maybe some of the Reds fans out there, I mean, we're only 2 weeks into the season, have not seen DeSclafani. Talk about his repertoire a little bit. What you've noticed from
Well, what I've noticed, and I heard before the Reds opened spring training, talked to some of the people that had seen him pitch a lot down in Miami last year. They said, listen, this guy is going to really love, you're going to love him because he loves his fastball. He keeps the ball down. He has good command of the fastball, and not an overpowering fastball, but it's fast enough to get in on hitters. His slider is his second best pitch. His changeup is a work in progress, and that's what I thought until I saw him throw the changeup the last couple of games. It's very, very good. I think the interesting thing about DeSclafani from a mechanical standpoint, if you watch his motion, he gets to a point where he lifts his leg up, and then he kind of cocks his hip a little bit, and it throws the hitter's timing off. Right there, it's a little bit of a hesitation at the top. And I think that as you're trying to read the cadence of a pitcher as a hitter, it just throws you off. And he's got a little bit of a long arm action. Looks like his body gets there before his arm. And I think there's some deception there, too.
1-2 on Aramis Ramirez. Long-time All-Star, outstanding third baseman. Originally a Pirate, many, many years with the Cubs. Last handful of years now in Milwaukee. And this will be his final year. And, Chris, we've talked about it many times. When you look at his numbers and you stack them up against third baseman in the history of Major League Baseball, one could make a very convincing argument that Aramis Ramirez should get heavy consideration for baseball's Hall of Fame. Over 1,300 career runs batted in. Career .285 hitter. A shot to reach 400 home runs. A shot to get to 500 career doubles. This guy has been a really good player for a long time.
Well, that's a great way of putting it. A really good player for a long time, but you ask yourself, is he a really good enough player to be in the Hall of Fame? And if you just evaluate the numbers, I mean, those ones that you had just recited are very impressive. But he also played during an era where there have been a lot of runs scored. And I think that has to be taken into consideration.
2-2 on Ramirez. Pulled foul.
I mean, lifetime .285. 369 home runs. Doubtful he's getting to 400. But I know that there are several players sitting out there like Fred McGriff that are close to 500 home runs and are still waiting for the call.
Yep.
I think there are other players that need to get in before Ramos Ramirez.
Gone swinging, and that's the first strikeout of the night for Anthony DeSclafani.
I think the other thing working against Ramirez is the fact that he played, for Pittsburgh, played for the Chicago Cubs, and then played for the Milwaukee Brewers. None of those teams, from the time he was there, were perennial World Series appearance teams. They weren't huge market teams. He didn't get a lot of pub, and he's quietly had an excellent career. I mean, real good career, but I'm not so sure he's ready to go into Cooperstown.
2 down for Gerardo Parra, the longtime Arizona Diamondback. Taken up and away, ball 1. Parra, like many of these Brewers, having a hard time collecting base hits. 27 at bats, 5 hits. What a play by Votto. And the flip to DeSclafani is in time. A beautiful play by Joey Votto takes away at least a double for Parra. And DeSclafani winning that foot race on the feed. World Series champion Redlegs. It's all this weekend. Reds and the Cubs will wear their 90s throwback jerseys. 30 of the 1990 World Series champs will be honored post-game on the field. That'll be Friday. We'll have the big fireworks show. 513-381-REDS or log on to Reds.com/tickets. Billy Hamilton to start things in this scoreless game. Reds thought they had a run in the second. But after safe was the call on a Tag play at the plate. The Brewers challenged. The call was overturned. Hamilton lined out to right, his only time up. 1-1.
Interesting the way they played Billy the Brewers. Bringing a third baseman in to take away from the bump, but the center fielder is way around here over in the left center field area. They don't expect him to pull the ball.
Well, they pulled it right at the first baseman, Lind, and that's an easy out. You saw that play by Votto to end the bottom of the second inning, taking away an extra base hit by Parra. That is now 20 consecutive innings where the Brewers have failed to collect an extra base hit.
That was a dandy play. When you're going bad, you have teams make plays like that against you. When you're going good, you bloop one and it falls in there and you score 3. And the Brewers know that it's going to eventually turn around. And they figure that when it does, somebody's going to pay. And the Reds hope not to be the team in town when that happens. Although it's interesting, Tom, we had a good shot at Ron Renick. He's been around the Brewers now for quite a long time. And, when people begin to make a list of managers that are on the hot seat, Ron Renick's name is often listed.
Now in his 5th year, he is 14 games over 500. Strike 3 called to Votto.
That had a little comeback action, and Joey knew it. Peralta's got no problem at all in trying to get that ball inside to left-handers, and that is not an easy spot for a right-handed pitcher to hit. When you can do that consistently, and he does that with the 4th pitch of the at-bat, you're going to get out even the better hitters in baseball, and he makes a good pitch there. Renick had his first year with the Brewers, 2011. 96 wins. Came in first in the division that year. They lost to the Cardinals in the NLCS. And then since then, it really started going downhill. He was a little bit over 500 the next year. He was way under. In fact, he was 23 games out of first place in 2013. 2 games over last year, even though they led the division nearly all season long. They melted down towards the end.
Little number off the end of the bat right back to Peralta, and that is a quick and efficient perfect 3rd. Middle of the 3rd. Still no score. She's a Cincinnati gal. And our buddy Mo Egger from 700 WLW. For the Reds fan cam next Friday night, your chance to answer Reds trivia Win great prizes. Be a part of Reds Live. We get it started at 6 at the Holy Grail on the Banks this Friday night. Mo Egger has done a nice job. He's getting a chance to do a lot more national stuff on radio talk show. Good for him. You've been a regular on his show from time to time.
I can't say regular.
I would say irregular. You're on a lot. Maybe too much.
Well, probably. Why? He must have really missed me over the weekend.
I really
did.
I got to tell you, it wasn't the same. Although I did enjoy listening to you and George as Hector Gomez lifts a fly ball at Billy Hamilton. Only one base runner, and that was on a Todd Frazier throwing error for the Brewers through their position players to start the night against DeSclafani. Now the pitcher Peralta. Of course, you had the day off yesterday, but had to wait until after the game to fly with the team here into Milwaukee.
Well, it was such a quick game last night. And unfortunately, the Cardinals did not have to bat in the bottom of the 9th inning, but it was a game that was officially measured at 2 hours and 2 minutes. I guess the speed up rules, they're not very complicated, and there are no penalties. They've just gotten everybody to kind of get ready to play baseball. It's a lot simpler than I think people ever thought it would be.
And so far, real good. Peralta down 0-2. And he's gone on 3 pitches. Strikeout number 2 for DeSclafani. So here you are, a little more than 15 innings as a Red. DeSclafani has allowed 7 hits. He has struck out 13 and walked only 3 batters. But Chris, as you brought up, going all the way back to spring training, when you really dive inside the numbers for DeSclafani in his minor league career, he has always been a strike thrower.
Oh, that's been his calling card, and that'll keep you around. And it also gets your confidence up because you realize if you throw strikes, hitters will get themselves out. And if you throw quality strikes, you're going to give them chances to get themselves out more often than not. He keeps the ball down. I just think it was a really fine scouting job by the Reds. I mean, if they knew they had to make a deal with somebody for Matt Latos, they wanted to shed payroll. They had evidently earmarked Latos as one of the guys that was available. So you got to look around at different teams, but you got to have done your homework, not on just one team, but a lot of teams.
Sure. Punted right back to the pitcher. 1, 2, 3. 7 in a row retired by DeSclafani. We march on to the 4th. No score in Milwaukee. ESPN live streaming sports service celebrating 13 years. Blackout and other restrictions apply, but check it out. Visit MLB.tv for details. Chris Wells, Jim Day, our producer Joshua Hall, our director is Roy Alfers, our associate producers Lauren White and Matt Sigafus. I'm Tom Brenneman. Great to have you with us on this Monday night from Milwaukee. The opener of a 4-game series. Good swing by Bruce. And a roller up the first base line. Well, a reminder, coming up later on as always, we'll have our Miller Time moment. It's brought to you by Miller Lite. Was looking for something, anything on offense. They have 2 hits. Thought they had a run when Pena raced home, sliding ahead of the tag of Lucroy on a throw by Gerardo Parra in the 2nd inning. Initially called safe. Ron Renicky, for only the 2nd time, challenged the call, and he is perfect on the year. 2 out of 2, both times the call on the field was overturned.
So he's got something going for him.
Marlon Byrd struck out his first time up. Byrd 6 hits in his first 43 at-bats as a Red.
Well, Bird's been around a long time, 37 years old. He's been with a lot of different ball clubs, and I'm not sure if he's ever started this slow or not, but he knows that there's nothing else you can do except keep plugging away. I mean, I don't think he's going to be batting 140 at the end of the year.
And his career numbers do suggest that he is a pretty consistent slow starter. I remember the one guy, Hall of Fame player, who was among the worst starters, meaning the start of a season in the history of baseball, was Ryne Sandberg. Sandberg's career numbers in April, you would never believe what he did the rest of his career based on the way he started those seasons.
Did he ever have
Marlon Byrd played for Ryne Sandberg? You were starting to ask, what did he ever have what?
Well,
Two hopper down to third, and Ramirez just in time. 2 away.
and he ended up making it a Hall of Fame. Rhino did. I'm not so sure that combination of Byrd and Sandberg worked out well in Philadelphia last year, which is one reason why Marlon Byrd was available for the Reds this year. And I think that, he's at the bottom of his career, and you hope that he's got enough left that when he does turn it on, they're going to see something happening.
2 down for Brian Pena. He drew a walk. Thrown out officially at the plate by Gerardo Parra in the 2nd inning.
And this is what you call a heavy sinking fastball when you look at Willie Peralta.
Hooked into right field, base hit. Off speed he came back with after a first pitch fastball.
Yeah, he did. Looks like it. He got it up just a little bit. Good swing by Pena.
A walk and a single now for Bryan in 2 plate appearances, and here's Kozar. He swung at the first pitch his first time up, flied out to center field, swing and a miss. First pitch this time up. Only one other game inside the National League Central Division tonight. The Cubs are in Pittsburgh. Had a little bit of rain there delaying the start of that one. 0-2.
You know who Peralta reminds me of? Not body type by any means, but the way he pitches and the way he's got such a good arm, but still is really trying to pound the breaking stuff, is Carlos Martinez of the Cardinals. Pitched a very good game for the second time in a row against the Reds while the Reds were there over the weekend. And even though the young man Martinez throws mid to high 90s, he still relied on a lot of off-speed stuff. And the more I see these guys play, the more I realize that 95 is hitting speed. So unless you have some other things to keep them off balance, they're going to eventually send you to the showers. Unless you get that breaking stuff over.
No runs, 3 hits for the Reds. No runs, no hits. Only 1 base runner for Milwaukee. 2-2 on Kozar with Pena at first and 2 away. So after getting ahead at 0-2, it is now a full count to the Red shortstop. Well, what a nice start to this year for Kozar. He has been one of the real pluses offensively for this Reds team. We'll do it again. Of course, Kozar went hitless in the game last night, 0 for 4, which ended his 7-game hitting streak. And that's the longest by a Red in the first 2 weeks of this season. And during that streak, 4 of those games, he had 2 or more hits. Right side of the infield for Lind, and that's all for the Reds. A hit, a man left after 3.5. Still no score. In the history of Major League Baseball, his 53 doubles, the most ever by a catcher in a single season.
And this is only from the offensive standpoint. When you talk to people in baseball now, they feel that Jonathan Lucroy has taken the mantle away from Yadier Molina as perhaps the best defensive catcher in the league. They figured out a way to statistically do it and measure framing, which is the measure by which a catcher makes a ball look like a strike. I'm not sure how exactly they do that, but catchers, they catch the ball different ways, soft hands. They make it look like a strike for the umpire. They bring the ball back a little bit and so on. Well, the consensus is that Lucroy is the best in the business now, where for a long time, everybody naturally assumed it would be Yadier Molina, and he's still as good as they come.
Tell you another guy who ranked very high in that statistical analysis is a new Cubs catcher. There's a ricochet right to Frazier. Boy, that's living right. Hopefully Anthony's all right on the mound. He appears to be okay. But Brian Price and the head trainer Paul Lassard will come out just to make sure.
I'm not sure if you're allowed to say it anymore, but back in the old days, we used to call this a shin burger.
Well, unless that's become politically correct,
I don't know. But, you know, take it from the Brewers standpoint. They've hit a shot. Parra hit the shot down the first base line, robbed by Joey Votto of a base hit. This one, a shot right back up the middle. Hits DeSclafani, goes right to the third baseman and gets an out. I mean, the Brewers got to be thinking, all right, you know, maybe it's time to call Jose Rijo and see if he can't bring up a goat.
Well, who's that guy in Major League? Remember the guy?
Serrano.
Yeah, what was his little Jobu? We got to start traveling around a little Jobu.
The other thing you hear in the dugout here is put a glove on that ankle. Well, he's going to stay in the game. Didn't even have a practice pitch, did he?
All right. So you'll take him any way you can get him. And now Ryan Braun, he has been the only Brewer to reach base, and that was on a routine ground ball to Frazier, whose throw just to first baseman Joey Votto sailed towards the home plate side of the bag, pulled Joey off of it, and went for a throwing error. Ball hit hard in the right center field, but Bruce is there. And the Brewers are still sniffing around for Joe Blue.
Yeah, I got to believe, Tom, that that's the kind of ball that you hit that later in the summer when it warms up a little bit, because temperatures here today very frigid in Milwaukee. I mean, I think tonight temperatures will be down in the 30s.
Yep.
And when it starts getting warm outside, that ball is going a lot farther than it does right now. It's a little hard to get things going offensively in the month of April.
It is downright cold here today and tonight.
It's not like lack of trying for Ron Renicky. He has tried coming into this ball game. In 12 games, he has used 11 different lineups, including Ryan Braun leading off the other day.
That was on Saturday. Look at that.
Just living right.
Hit off the end of the bat. And Lynn will try and go to second base. Here comes the throw. And he's in there with a excuse me double. The Brewers' first hit. And their first extra base hit in their last 2.5 games.
Boy, if you could do that when you wanted to, they'd have a seat for you in the Hall of Fame.
24 innings. But now all of a sudden in this scoreless game, they have a runner in scoring position for Chris Davis. And we mentioned Davis not hitting for any power yet. Yes, he does have 4 doubles, no home runs. And we know he has plenty of popping at bat. But he has hit the ball well this year.
He doesn't get cheated. Davis is a guy that he sees a fastball. He's never seen a fastball he doesn't like. And he just lets it rip.
His father, one of my favorite people I had the pleasure of getting to know living out in Arizona for a dozen years, longtime scout in Major League Baseball, Rodney Davis. Really good man, good family. And he's certainly so proud of his son reaching the major leagues. DeSclafani can't handle him, but right there they grow an inning over. That was an odd inning for Anthony DeSclafani, but a shutout inning.
The Reds. Christopher DeGrone lives in Northern California, and he is the biggest Golden State Warriors fan on the planet. I mean, the guy is a fanatic. The other day in St. Louis on Saturday, I asked him, I said, hey, your Warriors are playing today. How you feeling? Well, he pulls down his mandatory Red Sox that he has to wear for his uniform, and underneath, these bad boys, as old school socks as you can get with Chris Mullin on them. He wore them during the game Saturday underneath his uniform. And I asked him today, since the Warriors play again tonight, hey, you going to have those socks on again today? He said, nope. We, meaning the Reds, lost the game. I have put those socks up for just the meantime. And by the way, he's also very superstitious. He travels one of those foam fingers that the fans hold up in the stands. And he said, if the Warriors lose, blame it on me. I forgot to bring the foam fingers on the trip. Wow. Major League NBA Golden State Warriors fan.
Of course, here in Milwaukee, they're zeroed in on that Game 2 tonight between their Milwaukee Bucks and the Chicago Bulls. Bulls winning the opener of that series. Chris, are you watching any of the NBA playoffs in your spare time, yay or nay?
I watched a little bit of the Cavaliers game.
They look good.
Yeah.
Boy,
sure
they look good, man. LeBron, Irving, Love. The big three, the new big three. So are you rooting for them to win it?
Yeah, I am.
Absolutely.
How about you?
Sure, better believe it. Two and one on DeSclafani. Swung on and fouled out of play. He had a base hit into center field. Pena came racing in from second base. Was initially ruled safe on a play at the plate. On the appeal, DeSclafani did not go around. 3-2. But Ron Renneke, if you weren't with us back in the second inning, challenged the play on replay, and the call was overturned. 3-2 delivery. Strike three call. 4 strikeouts in the game for Willie Peralta. Well, why not be a part of Major League Baseball's all-star action? Of course, that's right in our hometown, Cincinnati, the T-Mobile All-Star Fan Fest, July 10th through the 14th at the Duke Energy Convention Center. Go to allstargame.com for tickets right now. Billy 0 for 2, his first game back in a lineup tonight, and now it'll be 0 for 3. Middle of the 5th, no score in the opener of this 4-game series of Reds and the Brewers. Four shutout innings, has allowed only 1 hit, and so far in the driver's seat indeed, presented by Kia. This is 3rd start as a Red. Grounded foul, Aramis Ramirez. DeSclafani now in 17 innings wearing a Reds uniform has surrendered a total of 2 runs, and both of those came in his first start. This is his 3rd. Long run here for Jay Bruce. Foul ball.
Well, that'll get you going a long way when your opponents in the first 4 innings of the game are hitting under 100. You're coming right out throwing strikes, and that's what he's been doing. Challenging hitters. He's just got this kind of inner confidence of his stuff. Not that he's cocky about it, but he just knows that if he throws it where he wants to, his stuff is good enough.
Short right, and Jay got a good jump to run it down, 1 away. Well, we really enjoyed the interview that Jim Day did with Anthony DeSclafani over the weekend, and that aired today before the game. And again, no nonsense. He made it very clear that, do I think over time a little more of my personality has a chance to come through? Perhaps. Not worried about it now. Worried about trying to establish myself as a bona fide major league pitcher. And it sounds cliche, and perhaps it is, but it's a great attitude to have. Negron, do or die play, and it was dropped by Votto.
I think that ball got on Votto a lot quicker than he was able to react to it. I think coming in, Negron wasn't sure whether he was going to get it with his glove and then flip it, or just barehanded and flip it. And looks like Votto just didn't have reaction time. Looked like he had it right in the glove.
No scoring decision on that play quite yet. Clark can run a little bit now, and he is at first base.
Got a big lead.
Number 8 hitter is Hector Gomez, and he's down a strike.
We haven't seen it yet because DeSclafani hasn't had all that many runners on base. Well, we're not really sure yet whether the opposition is going to try to do some running. He looks a little bit deliberate to the plate.
We understand it has now scored an error on Joey Votto. Farah, a good hearty lead over there at first. He'll draw a throw. Parra, while in Arizona, coming up through their minor league system, had huge stolen base years. Most he's ever swiped in the big leagues, 15, twice, and 11 and 12. And then last year had a combined 9. He has not been a good base stealer. Short left field, that'll fall in a hit. So after the error, now all of a sudden the Brewers for the first time tonight have 2 on in an inning against DeSclafani.
Well, the good news is you're right down the bottom of the order here with the pitcher coming up. So more than likely the Brewers are going to give the Reds an opportunity for an out right here. Reds ought to play it aggressively on defense, but remember that Parra is a center fielder and he's the runner at second base. So it's not like you've got a catcher or a pitcher running out there. You still have a force play, but he can scoot a little bit. So they may not be able to run the swing play, the wheel play that is, because you've got a speedy runner at second base.
Peralta hitless in 4 at-bats this year. In his career, 11 for 122. That is a batting average. It starts with a .0. Now last year he wasn't a bad bunter. Not great. Had 8 sacrifices.
Maybe you don't know whether it's 8 sacrifices out of 9 tries or 19 tries.
No runs, 3 hits for the Reds. No runs, 2 hits for Milwaukee. Reds with 2 errors. Milwaukee with 1. For the Brewers with 2 on and 1 away here in the bottom of the 5th inning.
Good idea right there, because a lot of times, especially with a pitcher in the batter's box, you square around a bunt, you lose the idea of what the strike zone is, and you think you're so worried about getting a bunt down that you're pretty much chasing everything.
One and 2 now on Peralta. Do you think they keep the bunt on?
Absolutely. Last thing he wanted to do is take the bunt off and have him dribble the ball into a double play. What you might want to do in the Brewers, on the other hand, is Parra with his speed at second base. If you can get a little bit of a lead, because DeSclafani's not paying much attention to him, you may want to be able to just try to swipe this bag here.
There he goes. And it's bunted, caught, and they'll get a double play. And Pena can cut it loose. They'll get it at first. Both runners were going. How about that? The bunt and run.
Run and bunt.
Ohio brought to you by Meyer, by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country. All the U.S. News and World Report's best children's hospitals in America. Roof closed in this series opening Monday night affair. Very, very frigid outside and getting colder by the minute.
Yeah, did I read that they have a possibility of snow here in Milwaukee this week?
It's going to be cold enough for it at nighttime.
You may have to borrow some heavy clothes from Cowboy. He brought enough.
Well, he did. Knowing we were going to be in Chicago. First pitch swinging. Votto bangs one into center field. A base hit to start the 6th inning. Joey's first hit. Chris, I want to go back to that final at bat in the 5th inning. The run and bunt. I'm not sure the last time I saw that.
Well, I think what you're trying to do there is, with Parra at second base, DeSclafani wasn't paying much attention to him. So he figured that he could get a good jump. Chances are that the pitcher is either going to foul the ball off or he's going to bunt through it. As it turned out, he did the worst thing possible for the Brewers. The best thing for the Reds, he popped it right up into the glove of Brian Pena. And there goes Parra. I mean, he's got that base stolen. But now Parra's got a choice which way to go. He wants to go to first, go to second. Either way, he gets a double play, and the Reds end up getting a break right there on a double play ball. I would say the move of Willie Peralta a little quicker than that of Anthony DeSclafani. All you got to do is ask Joey Votto that.
Todd Frazier, a base hit his first time up. Big swing and a miss. Challenge with a fastball there. 1-1.
Boy, heavy sink, good spot. Really, the odd thing for Willie Peralta is that most of the time when a pitcher throws a four-seam fastball, it doesn't have a lot of sink. But his does have a lot of sink. Both his two-seamer and his four-seamer down in the zone almost all the time.
Peralta with that sinking fastball induced him. A large number of double play ground balls. .24 of them.
That's a lot of double plays. He also had 19 stolen bases given up last year, only 5 thrown out. And that's with Jonathan Lucroy back there.
3-1 the count now on Frazier.
Good pitch to lay off for Frazier. That's always been his kind of Achilles heel. Chasing pitches that are just a little bit out of the zone. Now you're in a good hitter's count.
No score. We're in the 6th inning at Miller Park. 3-1 to Todd Frazier. And he walked him. 2 on, none out for Jay Bruce. Well, we invite you to get ready for Reds action 30 minutes before every game. Reds Live is presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. And Reds Live, the pregame show, will come your way at 7:30 Eastern Time tomorrow night. Same holds true Wednesday. And then Reds Live begins at 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Time Thursday. Big chance for Bruce. He is struck out and rolled out to the pitcher. Boy, this is where the Reds, losers of 4 in a row, have been looking for a big hit so frequently with runners on base. Can they get it from someone here in the 6th inning? Ball 1 to Bruce.
You know, Peralta's beginning to pitch like a pitcher who understands his team's not going to score him a whole lot of runs. Really trying to nibbling around the outside of the zone, make the perfect pitch.
And there's a base hit into center field by Bruce. They're going to hold bottom. They saw the arm of Parra, who led the league in assists a couple of years ago. And the Reds have him loaded with nobody out. Rick Crenitz, the pitching coach under manager Renicky, come out and visit Peralta, who's allowed a single, a walk, and a single.
What better time would it be for Marlon Byrd to knock one right on out of here? He's already had 7 grand slams in his major league career. He knows he's getting some strikes here. Nowhere to put them.
All right, they're loaded for Marlon Byrd in a scoreless game. Fastball off the inside corner. The inning began with a single by Votto. Frazier followed with a walk. Base hit into center field by Bruce. A scoreless game. Reds trying to change that right here and right now. 2-0 to Marlon Byrd. Byrd tonight has struck out and bounced out to the third baseman.
Brewers are playing back. They'll try to get a double play ball and give up the run right here. So anything that Byrd does really to put the ball in play other than the pitcher, Reds are going to get a run out of.
Well, they're coming to the plate here, and they get the first out of the inning as Luke Boyd finally finds the plate.
Ball not hit hard enough to turn 2. Boy, he just got jammed big time on that pitch.
The Reds are going to wake up from this early offensive funk they have been in after really the first 4 games of the year. They need Byrd, among others, to get it turned around quickly. Here's Pena. Been a good night for Brian. A walk and a single. He hooked one into right field against Peralta his last time up. They're loaded with 1 out. Straight away center field. This will bring in a run. Tagging and scoring is Frazier. Bruce going hard to third. Brian Pena to sac fly. And the Reds on the board. They have a 1-0 lead. Well done by Brian.
Very much so. Knowing what he needed to do was to get a ball in the outfield. He got a first pitch up around the letters. I mean, that's kind of unusual for Peralta, too, because Peralta's a guy who keeps the ball down. I'm interested to know why he would even want to throw that ball up to Pena. But Reds were able to get a run in on that. Good job by Pena. He is having a good night. Catching a 2-hit shutout on the other side of the ball.
Now Cozart 0 for 2 tonight. Runners on the corners. 2 are out. Zacchaeus fly to center and popped up to Lind at first base. He has swung in the first pitch in each of his 3 plate appearances tonight. Made an out on the first at bat. And now behind 0-1 here. Reds in the midst of playing 25 of their first 29 inside the National League Central. 20 of their first 32 on the road. That hit the runner. It looked like it foul ground. And hopefully Jay Bruce is all right. I mean, that was on him right now. A hard one hopper.
Now, this is why you take your leads in foul territory, because if it hits you in fair territory, obviously you are out.
Well, it's nice to see he's able to smile about it, laugh about it. Well, after getting his teammate, now a foul tip gets a piece of Lucroy. Did he bat that down with his hands?
It looked like he did, yeah.
Wow. That got Lucroy right on the left toe, big toe.
You can see that ball when Willie Peralta throws it and stays on top of it, just boring down and into a right-hander. I mean, he's the kind of pitcher that you face as a right-handed hitter, and you're going to knock the ball off your feet all the time.
Runners on the corners, a run home. Reds coming up with the first run of this game here in the top of the 6th inning. Peralta will look in. And now the 0-2 on Kozak. Started 2 and laid off. They're in the bottom of the 3rd in Pittsburgh. Pirates an early 1-0 lead over the Cubbies. 1-2 on Kozak. In the air, deep left field. If it's fair, it's gone. It's fair, and it's gone. A 2-out, 3-run bomb by Kozak. And the Reds have turned it to a 4-0 lead. Now there's a big 2-out hit the Reds have been in search of during this journey.
Not only a 2-out hit, but a 2-strike hit, too. He got down 0-2 in this count. Batted off a couple of pitches, hit 2 foul balls that we showed, and got a pitch up. And that is a swing that we have seen out of Zach Kozart a couple of years ago that wasn't around last year. Aggressive, able to turn on the inside pitch. And he and Joey Votto hit the ball as well as anybody on this team, and nobody brings them to their feet tonight like Zach Kozart has.
DeSclafani watches as Negron taps one down to 3rd, but how about that? They get 1, and then they get 3 on one crack of the bat from Kozak.
destination as part of Family Sundays. Kids 14 and younger will receive an Aroldis Chapman poster presented by College Advantage. Plus, make sure you take advantage of special family ticket offers and enjoy live mascot races, face painters, games, and much more. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or reds.com/family. Zach Kozart, 3-run bomb, and Anthony DeSclafani has a little bit of a cushion, boys.
Yes, he does. Thank you very much, Jim Day. Everyday Jim Day. Top of the order for the Brewers against DeSclafani here in the 6th, now working with a 4-run lead. But I guarantee you, based on watching that interview that Jim had with DeSclafani, which we aired before the game, he is out there on that mound, Chris, pitching like it's still nothing.
Yeah, but if you're the Brewers, you're thinking, boy, this looks like an awful steep mountain to try to climb. I mean, after all, in the first 12 games of the year, they've only scored 30 runs total, 2.5 runs a game, and they've given up 65. That's a good pitch, and he's going to get an out of it.
And then you look at what they've done tonight, or more accurately described it, what they haven't done. They had a ball hit by Adam Lynn that he swung so early, the ball hit the end of his bat and dribbled down the left field line for a double. Their other hit was a jam shot flare into left field, a single by Gomez in the 5th. Their other 2 base runners reached on errors. And this will be out number 2.
Boy, Lucroy is really hurting. I think that ball that he got off his left toe that we showed on the foul ball by Zach Kozart right before the home run is putting a little hurting on him. He was limping all the way down to first baseline on that ball.
Saw the pitch count totals on DeSclafani. Remember, his last game, he had just eclipsed the 90 pitch mark, allowing only 2 singles, and was taken out of the game after 7 shutout innings at Wrigley Field. Bullpen gave up the lead in the 8th inning, and the Reds would lose that game, a game they should have won. No, I beg your pardon. They won that game 3-2. It was the other game where the bullpen gave it up and they wound up losing in extra innings. Straight up in the air, and this will be the final out of the inning. Hamilton underneath it. How about DeSclafani? 6 innings of 2-hit shutout baseball. 7 innings, 2 hits, no runs his last start. 6 innings, 2 hits, no runs through 6 tonight. For Mr. Anthony DeSclafani, he has been lights out again. 0-0 game until the top of the 6th inning. Bases loaded, 1 out. Pena broke the scoreless game with a fly ball to center. And then with 2 on, 2 outs, 2 strikes. A home run to left field, number 2 for Kozak. A 4-run inning. And you're up to speed. As the Reds will come to bat against Willie Peralta in the 7th. You brought up Jonathan Lucroy, and now he clearly was in pain following that foul ball we saw the last half inning. He's been taken out of the game. Martin Maldonado will take over behind the plate. Going for the Brewers, that's going from bad to worse.
Well, he was already struggling mightily. And the only way you get your timing down if you're in a slump is to get out there and play. And eventually, you know, the water rises where it should, and he would find his way back to probably being a pretty doggone good hitter, because he was last year and he was the year before and so on. But evidently that toe was bothering him so much that he had to give way.
DeSclafani with a base hit. It appeared to have knocked in a run in the 2nd inning. Initially, the runner scoring from second, Brian Pena, was ruled safe on a throw from center fielder Gerardo Parra. But the Brewers challenged on replay, and the call was overturned. Bouncer over the mound, able to cut it off. Peralta. Coming up tonight after Reds Live, the postgame. Fox Sports Live will break it all down. NBA, NHL playoff action, all the games in MLB. Some of the rumors coming out of New York leading up to the NFL draft. See Fox Sports Live tonight at 11 on Fox Sports 1. Or simulcast right on Fox Sports Ohio after Reds Live. I believe the NFL announces its regular season schedule for tomorrow. Hamilton drives one to right center. Look out here. Billy off to the races. This will be an easy 3. Segura's throw coming in, and he is in there. Well, I tell you what, good relay throw there by Braun, and Segura cut that thing loose. Or rather, Gomez cut that thing loose. We've not seen him play a lot. He showed off a mighty good arm.
Well, Hector Gomez, they tell me, has the best arm of anybody in the infield, maybe anybody on the ball club. And he shows it right here as this ball goes all the way to the wall. Braun gets it and immediately gets it to the relay man. That's his job. And now Gomez. And that throw was pretty good, right on the money. And I'm wondering, at that little move at the very end right there, maybe Billy Hamilton jammed his foot or his knee as he went into the bag very hard. Or did he re-injure that groin pull that he had?
Look at Votto. Mashing one to left center field, and way bye-bye. Votto, another opposite field home run. This one with Hamilton aboard, and it is 6-0 Reds. That is now 5 home runs, 12 batted in for Joey Votto.
You know, Joey Votto makes all the argument about this ball club or this ballpark not giving up home runs in April go away. When you can hit an opposite field that far, that is some kind of strong.
We brought it up when Votto hit 2 opposite field home runs in one game at Great American Ballpark to begin the year. That was a part of his game that never returned from 2012 after the knee injury. Was the power to the opposite field that we saw so frequently ever since he came to the big leagues. Well, it's back. so far here in 2015. 2 away in the inning. Talked about the Brewers' lack of power. 3 as a team. 38 players, 2 of them Reds. 3 or more home runs around the major leagues individually. I know, Chris, you talked a great deal last year about Don Long in his first year as a Reds hitting coach. And some of the things he was trying to do with a number of different Reds players. This year he has a healthy Joey Votto to work with.
That sure makes a big difference. I think Votto can do the things that he's wanted to do last year but couldn't do.
Bruce out of there swinging to end the inning, but 4 in the 6th. 3 on a home run by Cozart. Votto a 2-run bomb to left center. 6-0. Reds in front. Ohio will break it all down. The Reds Live brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. Jim Day, Jeff Pecoro, Brian Giesenslaw, Chris Welsh and company. And Reds Live producer Kent Dream Weaver standing by, where the Reds are hoping they can get 9 more outs with this 6-0 lead and end this 4-game losing streak. Lind hit one off the end of the batter, rolled her up the left field line for a double his last time up. The Brewers' first extra base hit in 24 consecutive innings. And there's a 4-pitch walk. Wow. Not a single one of those all night long for DeSclafani. 20 of 21 batters he had delivered a first pitch strike on prior to that at bat. He's retired all but one Brewer on 4 pitches or fewer in this game. Aramis Ramirez had a 9-pitch at bat in the 2nd inning before he struck out. Davis a fly ball to center, a ground out to second base, swing and a miss, 0-2. Reds 3-2 winners. DeSclafani getting the win. His last time out, and there's strike 3 call.
Well, that's about an unhittable pitch right there. A little slider right on the black, 0-2. Davis doesn't like the ball down and away anyhow. And, I mean, he just nails it. DeSclafani does with that spot right there. Wow.
It's a big league pitch right there.
If you could just run that off about 20,000 times if you're a pitcher, you'd have something. There's another good one right there.
Now you'd have a bust being made of you and a plaque in a little town in upstate New York. Sits right by a beautiful lake. Is that Lake Oswego? Is that the name of that lake up there?
You know what you like about DeSclafani? Yeah, you know, I do like that lake house. I've only been up there a few times, but what I like about his delivery, Tom, is if you watch him as he follows through, he's a direct line pitcher. He's not falling off towards first base and throwing to home. He's going right towards home with everything. And that's one reason why I think his control is good. And that if he does fall into a little bit of a slump as far as control, you can fix him easily. And the other thing is that he is an unusual right-handed pitcher in as much as he pitches from the third base side of the rubber. That is not a place where most right-handers stand.
Pulled foul.
And the reason the right-handed pitchers will pitch from the first base side of the rubber is because it's easier to throw the ball to the first base side of home plate from over there. When you stand on the third base side of the rubber, you got 17 inches of pitching rubber there that you've got to make sure that you're in a direct line so that you can get the ball going this way rather than just coming to your arm side, if that all makes any sense. And I think what it really does, and he described it to me in one of the tech talks that we did down in spring training, is that it really gives the hitter a much more difficult time seeing his slider come out, especially right-handed hitters. And we've seen that tonight, and in his last start, and in his first start.
Shallow center field. Billy coming on to get it. 2 away.
Hey, I want to say happy birthday tonight, Tom, to the former assistant media man and now the head man here in Milwaukee, Mike Masala.
Yes.
Is he 40 years old tonight? Is that what I saw on the birthday cake?
Yes.
Happy birthday, Mikey.
He did a great job while he was in Cincinnati as
sure
Rob
did.
Butcher's assistant and was hired immediately when the Brewers job came open. Gerardo Parra, the batter. Strike 1. By the way, that lake is not Oswego. That is in Oregon. It is Otsego.
Okay. I do know that in my first year in pro ball, I was in Oneonta, New York, which is in the New York Penn League, just 26 miles down the road, Route 8 from Cooperstown. And the first meeting that we ever had that year, Art Masmanian, our manager, pulled everybody aside and said, boys, 26 miles down Route 8 is Cooperstown, the hallowed ground of the Baseball Hall of Fame. And I'm here to tell you right now, for you guys, it's the longest 26 miles on earth.
0-2. Try that high fastball that Parra does not offer at. Did anybody on that team prove him wrong?
Well, the only guy who would really be under consideration would be Willie McGee. He was the best player we had ultimately. MVP of the league, I think, in the National League in around 1985.
and was a batting champion, even though he had been traded to the Oakland Athletics at the trade deadline. Or actually, that was a post-trade deadline deal.
The rest of us, we have to pay admission.
Blew him away with that high fastball. 93 miles per hour. 7 innings, 2-hit shutout ball.
System, maybe a game console, but recently I saw a bicycle being traveled. Now, who is that? That would be Mike Leake. We told you Johnny Cueto likes to run the steps the morning after a start. Well, Mike Leake has a routine in which he rides a bicycle, a big-time bicycle. Now, you guys talked about it being cold here in Milwaukee. It was probably in the 30s this morning. His biking partner is assistant trainer Tomas Vera. This is a picture from Montreal from the exhibition game where there was still snow on the ground. Doesn't bother him a bit. He was out there this morning riding that bike. It is his day after pitching ritual. Chris Welsh, times have changed. Back in your day, I can't imagine any bike you'd get on that didn't have a motor on it.
Well, I still won't get on one of those, Jim Day, but you're right, times have changed. Not like your time when you probably used to hop on a skateboard.
Well, Jim Day has been known from time to time to be seen in points around Columbus, Ohio, I'm told, on a skateboard. Is that true, Jimbo, as Will Smith takes over on the mound?
And the Segway.
And even a unicycle. Jim, any truth to any of the above?
Actually, I used to ride a unicycle in high school and when I was a kid all over the neighborhood. And yes, I do own a bike, and I've been trying to get into that portion of working out. And the Segways, though, those are the funnest going. Rent those down by the Ohio River. It's big time.
Well, you are Mr. CincinnatiUSA.com. Now, let me get back to that unicycle thing, if you don't mind, real quick. Can you still ride a unicycle?
I don't know.
When was the last time you were on it?
Oh, that was high school, so it would be an adventure to try. But I bet you I could at least get on there and ride a minute. I used to ride it like all around the neighborhood like it was nothing.
Well, Jim,
believe it or not, I'm a little top heavy now, though.
Well,
so.
that's all right. Well, we'll give you a little bit of warm up. Would you do a tech talk with me on riding a unicycle, maybe with a ball glove and tossing a ball up and down, something like that?
Sure, let's do it. I'm for it.
There you go. There you go. That is your next tech talk.
Well, I'll have to go to somewhere in Cincinnati, some bike shop that will be willing to let us use a unicycle.
Getting on it's the hardest part. Once you're on it, you're okay. It's just getting on it.
So, I mean, do we need to get like a lift of some kind to get you up on there and then go from there? Or?
Maybe a crane. Forklift?
Well, I didn't mean that. I'm just saying, do we need to get some kind of, I'm sure that is tough.
Well, depending on how big the unicycle is, there's some tall ones as well. Those are really difficult. The normal size ones, not as hard to get.
All right. 3-0 the count on Brian Pena. He broke a scoreless tie with a sac fly in the 6th inning in front of the Kozart 3-run home run. 3-1 from Will Smith. Peralta touched for 8 hits, 6 runs. 5 of the 6, or all 6, coming in his final 2 innings of work. Three and 2 on Pena, who's had a real nice night tonight. Behind a plate, helping guide DeSclafani through no runs and 2 hits at the plate. A walk, a single, a sac fly, RBI. And he's aboard again.
And he gets a 3-2 breaking ball. 6 runs down. How about that?
Coming up on Wednesday night, another edition of Reds Weekly. Jeb Brantley takes a look at the Reds bullpen. We'll take a tour of the new Tony Perez exhibit over at the Reds Hall of Fame and Museum. And how about Pete Rose? He'll tell us about using video as a teaching tool. It's coming your way Wednesday at 6. They get one, they will not double up Kozart. Kozart has swung at the first pitch in each of his 4 plate appearances tonight. He hit a 1-2 pitch for the 3-run home run to the seats in left field in the 6th inning. Now Negron getting the nod for Brandon Phillips at second base tonight. And he's 0 for 2 with a walk. A ball and a strike. Pitching matchup game 2 here tomorrow night. We'll have Jason Marquis 0-1 against Mike Fiers 0-2. Fiers was pitching a brilliant game his last time out. Locked up in a pitcher's duel against the Cardinals. They broke through late. Over the mound, and the force out will end the inning. Brewers will bat in the 8th. Reds lead 6-0. Series champion Reds will be honored after the ball game on the field right before the fireworks show. Reds and the Cubs this Friday. All brought to you by Frisch's Big Boy. 513-381-REDS or log on to reds.com/tickets. They'll also be honored before the game on Saturday afternoon. Reds will have a 6-game homestand beginning Friday night. 3 against the Cubbies, followed by 3 against these Milwaukee Brewers. Hector Gomez in a pinch hitting to bat for the pitcher. And back to the top of the order in Gene Segura. And right now, standing in the on-deck circle is Logan Schaefer. The Brewers have had a base runner in 4 of the 7 innings. Only once have they had more than 1. They have a walk, 2 hits, and 2 others have reached on errors. That's it. DeSclafani, pitch number 87, is a strikeout.
Boy, that's just easy gas right there. He had a strikeout at par on a fastball, and he comes right back and gets Gomez on a fastball for strike 3 here. A 4-seamer that he puts right at the top of the eye, what they call that, right on the outside corner, not the eye. And that is our flamethrower of the night. Brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce at 92 miles an hour.
Boy, has this young fella been impressive.
It's just, I mean, he's just got such good stage presence on the mound. Even when you get a couple of runners on, maybe an error behind you, he's not the kind of guy that seems like he's going to lose his cool out there.
In the air right field, that takes care of Schaefer, the pinch hitter, on 1 pitch.
You got to like that. Up by 6 runs, they send the pinch hitter up there, and you retire him on a first pitch changeup.
So he has 1 more out to go to get through this 8th inning. Reds do have action for the first time in their bullpen tonight. They lead 6-0. DeSclafani lifted with a few more pitches than he has right now at the end of 7 his last start.
Are you going somewhere with a question like there? Would you say, well, would you leave him in to maybe have him enjoy his first Major League 9-inning shutout?
Well, this will be the 3rd out. Buehler.
You'll have to stick around. I'll tell you next inning.
Buehler. 17 consecutive scoreless innings put together by Anthony DeSclafani.
You know, if you string 2 of those starts together in the same week, you're pitcher of the week. So a lot of times it depends when you pitch on which day of the week. He's going to get another start this week. It'll be later when the Reds get home this next weekend, take on the Chicago Cubs. And probably Saturday if everything goes right. Well, what a way to get out of the gate.
Well, his night is now officially over. 8 innings of 2-hit shutout baseball. He struck out 5, 3 of them to the final, 6 batters he faced. And he walked only 1 batter. And boy, it was so odd. He had gone through the front 6, coming nowhere close to walking a batter. And he walked Adam Lynn on 4 pitches to start the 7th inning. Retired the next 3. Shot into left field, base hit by Schumacher. This is the Milwaukee closer. Boy, you talk about a lonely gig when your team is not winning games. And that would be a team's stopper. Frankie Rodriguez.
Something like being the Maytag repairman down there. Never hear your name called when they call the phone up. He's only been in 3 ball games. He's had 1 save opportunity, and he's converted it.
That was a week ago today, the last time he pitched in a game.
You know, most closers don't like this tune-up stuff. You know, they say they don't have the adrenaline that they do during a regular close situation, a save situation.
Now, according to Rodriguez, he said that, Chris, he has only pitched a total of 3 innings, all those during this regular season, but going all the way back to the 22nd of March in a game. A couple of, B games, that kind of thing. But those are the only 3 innings he's pitched in almost a month. Billy tripled his last time up, scored on the home run by Votto. Billy is 9th hit in 45 at-bats to begin this year. Two and two. Hamilton in the air down the right field line and over near the stands, out of play. Three and two on Hamilton. Runner at first, none out here in the Reds' 9th inning, leading 6-0. Struck him out on a breaking ball.
Now, Francisco Rodriguez, also known as K-Rod, has always been a high strikeout pitcher. In the more recent years, though, he's used his off-speed stuff to get a lot of strikeouts. There a changeup. gets Billy Hamilton out in front. The peak for him, really, as far as strikeouts in a year, happened is really his second full season in the major leagues, where he struck out 123 batters in 84 innings. That's almost Aroldis Chapman territory. Although Chapman has just reset those record books. Averaged more than 17 strikeouts a game per 9 innings, that is, last year.
You know, I frequently think back, and it's amazing how the years go by, and, you know, thank God for it. But when Rodriguez, you not only think about Rodriguez, but you think about the gumption of an organization to do what the Angels did in 2002. Troy Percival was their closer, and man, he was a good one. But they were having some issues after having a great bullpen the whole year. They were having some issues due to injury in the 7th and 8th innings. And with less than 2 weeks to go in the season, a season where they knew they were going to the playoffs, they brought a 21-year-old up from the minor leagues and made him their 8th inning guy. And they steamrolled their way right through the playoffs and through the Giants to win the World Series in 7. And Rodriguez was a huge reason why. He has walked Joey Votto. I don't have the numbers in front of me. What did he pitch that game that year, Chris? What, 5 games, something like that?
Yeah, that's all
right?
he pitched in 2002. He started, I think, down in the Texas League that year, which is Double-A. And the Angels called him up. He pitched 5 innings, 5 games, 6 innings, and struck out 13.
But think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, a team that knew they were locked and loaded for a legitimate run. And remember now, the Angels had never won a World Series in franchise history to that point in time. And they had a young manager in Mike Scioscia who said, you know what, and a general manager, give him credit, great general manager, Bill Stoneman, for a long time, and said, you know what, the kid has the best stuff, we're giving him the ball. And they did it. And they weren't worried about whose feelings they were hurting. They weren't worried about some veteran guy who's been hanging around and trying to hang on. They said, we got a chance to win it. We're going with Rodriguez. I remember doing that American League Championship Series that year.
Well, he was involved in 5 of their postseason wins.
Yeah. Ramirez for 1, for 2. Bottom of the 9th, Reds trying to put it away. Pile brought to you by your local Toyota dealers, proud sponsor of the Cincinnati Reds. And play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com, the official daily fantasy partner of Major League Baseball. Enter promo code PLAYNOW. Take a look at our Miller Time moment. Brought to you by Miller Lite. It's a big moment in this ball game.
That really could have turned the game around right there. The Brewers had their rare rally going, first and second. Peralta was batting with one out to try to get the runner over to third base. He bunts it up in the air. That was an out. And he threw to first base. Pena did to get a double play, which ended the inning. And that was really the only time the Brewers had anything going at all against Anthony DeSclafani. So 8 innings of shutout, 2-hit baseball for the Reds' right-handed starter. And he'll give way to Burke Badenhop.
So Badenhop trying to pick up the final 3 outs of this one. Cubs and the Pirates in the 6th inning now at PNC Park. That one getting started late due to rain tonight. A 1-1 game, and the San Diego Padres, after rolling into Chicago over the weekend, winning 2 out of 3. They are in the 3rd inning in Denver and already with a 9-0 lead. What a start by Matt Kemp.
Yeah. You think they're legit this year? It's a long year.
It is a long year.
But that's a completely new roster.
Yes, it is. Strike 3 call. You know, Chris, you bring it up all the time, though, and it's true. You know, they brought in a bona fide leader, James Shields, guy who's pitching a lot of big games, to go along with some guys who have never pitched for a competitive team before. They've been good pitchers, but they're young pitchers. And now all of a sudden, you know, how will they respond? That ball driven into deep right center field, and the shutout is over. Only the 4th home run hit by the Brewers this year, and it's the first all year by Ryan Braun. Boy, did he hit it. That ball was just hammered.
I watched very closely as Ryan Braun took batting practice today, and I'll tell you, he was just peppering the stands with home run balls. I mean, he told me that he feels 100%. His hand is fine, and he did hit that a bomb.
So the Reds are going to miss out on what would have been their first shutout of the year. But they lead 6-1 with 1 away here in the 9th.
Well, the shutout meant a lot. They probably would have brought in a roll to Chapman.
Well, you know how it goes. You still like to put it in your pocket.
Yeah, I kind of like the individual shutout over the team shutout.
Sure.
But hey, the Reds on this road trip are just looking for W's. A team very tough to come by in Chicago, and they were not able to come by any in St. Louis.
We mentioned a road wins period for the Reds going back to the end of June last year. They have won the fewest number of games on the road among all teams. Colorado, Arizona, you name it. The teams that really struggled away from home. The Reds with the fewest road wins going back to the end of June last year, 9 of them in 43 games. On swinging Lynn, and we're 1 out away from dusting this one off. The story tonight, Anthony DeSclafani. He started this road trip. Don't tell him about problems on the road. He started this trip 7 innings of 2-hit shutout baseball against the Cubs, and now 8 innings of 2-hit shutout baseball tonight in Milwaukee. 15 consecutive scoreless innings for Anthony DeSclafani.
I really like the way that maybe it was Kent Dreamweaver or maybe it was Jim Day that came up with the title for a segment when they were talking about the pitching matchup tonight between Peralta, who is, according to several Brewer people I talked to, the ace of the staff, and DeSclafani. They called it ace versus future ace with a question mark. Tell you what, DeSclafani certainly pitched like one tonight.
On 3 starts, he's pitched like one. There's no doubt about that. I mean, you look at his numbers now. 21 innings, he has allowed 9 hits and 2 runs. Oh, and by the way, he has struck out 16 and walked 4. 21 innings, 9 hits allowed. That is doing it. 2-2 pitch. Two and two to count. Roy didn't miss by much. This should tie a ribbon around this one. Bruce underneath, and that is that. The Reds come away with a big one tonight, and they needed it. 4-game losing streak by the board. A 6-1 win. They get 8 innings of 2-hit shutout pitching by DeSclafani, who goes to 2-0. And they get a pair of home runs. The big blow came off the bat of Kozar. 2 on, 2 out, 2 strikes. A 3-run home run to left in a 4-run 6th inning. He is our steel power tool performer. So the Reds move to within